And we're here for another episode of Entering the Sports World. I'm here with Sarnia Sting Equipment Manager Spencer Stehouwer. How are you, Spencer?
Hey, Bryce, it's good. Not too bad, just trying to kill time.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on playoff hockey before we dig into about yourself?
Well, it's definitely a good time to have it on with nothing really going on in the world, right? So it's good to kill time throughout the day.
Yeah, the all-day hockey, you gotta love it.
Yeah, you can't complain about it, right?
Yeah,
So nonstop.
exactly. All right, so we'll dig into it. Did you always want to be an equipment manager growing up, or how'd you come along that job?
So I started. It was really random. I did a co-op in high school, and then just off the co-op, it was, you have to do something. And obviously I didn't want to just jump into anything. So I chose to help out at a sports store. And, I started just doing the main stuff, stocking shelves and everything. But at the end of the co-op, they offered me a job. So I started working at Play It Again Sports in London. And honestly, I just fell in love with sharpening skates. So it was a really random feeling, I guess. But and then when I was growing up, I took too many concussions, so it kind of knocked me out. But I wanted to get back into that team environment, and I was, constantly trading and selling pro stock stuff online. So I kind of was YouTubing how to get it, where it comes from, and it brought me like all these equipment managing videos in the NHL. I was like, oh my god, this is so cool, right? So I kind of ventured off on that, and I was like, well, maybe I'll give it a shot, see what it's like. And I reached out to the London Nationals, and they took me in for the first year, and that's really how it all started. And then just from game one, it was just like, this is unreal. So
Yeah, that's cool. You started out in the sports store. You see that like in Chatham here, I kind of did along the same thing, starting out in the sports store, and it's pretty popular for even just the junior hockey guys to even do that.
yeah,
Take it easy
exactly right.
co-op,
To
take
get
it
the
easy
little
co-op.
part-time jobs too, and
Like
kill some time.
I remember when I had co-op, the trades deadline was going on, and not a single person came into the store that day.
Oh,
So
really?
all we did was just sit there and watch the trade deadline the whole
Wait, just
day.
wait. Yeah, yeah. Retail's different, especially in the sports world, right? Because it's more you're just waiting. But it's awesome, man. That's obviously you get all the deals and everything when you're a kid, so it's sweet when you're just face to face with customers. You're always learning new stuff, so it's interesting.
Yeah, and I noticed Friday, 2:30, 3 o'clock. That's when business really picks up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
Yeah. You always get those
heading out for the
retail
weekend.
rushes.
Yeah.
So.
But we'll dig into the Nationals. Was it your first or second year you guys went on to win the championship, the league championship?
It would have been my first year we went to the Sutherland Cup. But yeah, I mean, jumping, like I said, it was my first year. I really wasn't knowing what to expect. And obviously, we had such a good team and made such a deep playoff run that year. It was awesome. Just I know they had a good team kind of going in. You could, see it. With the new change of coaching and all of that, it was a very positive environment. And just from day one, you knew, if you just follow the system, things will work out. And it was obviously for the first year, it was unexpected, and just I was enjoying every moment of it, just learning. So
Exactly. What was the biggest difference you noticed coming from like working in a sports store to now you're in charge of all these players? What was that big jump like?
yeah, it's you know what, it's better. Um, when you're working at a sports store, you always have somebody coming in and they could get their skate sharpened in one spot and then get them done, by the 16-year-old at the rink because they lost an edge, and then they bring them back and, something's different. So, when I'm the only one touching the skates, it really allows me to dial in and, work on profile and keep things consistent. Um, but yeah, it's almost like, instead of the odd customer coming in, you're now in charge of 24 guys, and you're ready on demand for any change, right? So it's fun. You know, you're always being a step ahead.
Yeah. And then even just like at the junior B level, are you ordering sticks for all the guys, still doing all of that, or is that through the owners or
Yeah,
how's
that's more through the owners. They had a really good deal with Source for Sports in London, so they were going through them with CCM and everything, and it was really good for the first year or two. And obviously things changed, so I'm not too sure how they're working it now, but I think they're going through Herm Sports in London now. But yeah, it's different at that level, because it's you can only supply so many. There's a certain money dollar that you'll hit and you'll run out at some point. So the owners like to watch that a bit more.
yeah, so we'll kind of jump right back into we'll say what is the biggest difference between junior B and the OHL?
Oh man, the biggest difference, yeah, I'd probably say the pickiness in the players. Junior B, we had some really good guys who were called up for the Knights or the odd time in the OHL game, and you could kind of see how they acted in the room, and there was a distinct difference in what they're looking for and what they want, and what they actually feel. So in the OHL, the rookies, I think, don't really know a lot of the time, and usually after their first year, they're pretty dialed in and they know what they want. But the biggest thing comes down, yeah, just them knowing, right? So something's, slightest bit off, they let me know if I changed some or toned up a profile that day. And you got guys just, hey, did you do something with the skates? And you just tell them, yeah, you toned up the profile and flattened the blade out. And it, just the fact they feel that, small bit of a difference is, it's honestly mind blowing. It's insane.
Yeah. So you mentioned rookies don't really speak up, and you kind of shared your rookie year at the OHL level with Jameson Reese.
Yeah,
His son, uh, I see behind the scenes because obviously I work with the Sting as well.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but you get to be more hands-on, obviously, with the players. What do you notice about him, I guess, as a change or an evolve as he's had?
Yeah, well, when I first met him, he was quiet, right? So that's usually the biggest thing is the guys get louder over the years, right? But no, he's for his talent level, he's very low maintenance to work with. And you don't get that too often. So I kind of give, the kudos to him. When I first met him, he's just like, this is what I want, this is what I need. And, we kind of changed a few things down the road. But, away from the ice, too, he's just such a good person, role model, right? So he's had some bad luck with, injuries in the past years. But every year we're just wishing, him the best because it's what he deserves. So.
Yeah, you can just see when you watch him play. He's so talented that
Yeah,
yeah, he definitely
something
deserves.
else, And obviously, I get a different view of it, but when you actually see the odd game or the highlight reels of Jameson Reese's goal, and
Yeah,
that's when it kind of hits you, and you're like, holy, this kid has talent.
yeah, it's coming out the wazoo. Like another player that who has talent coming out the wazoo is Perot. Uh,
Oh yeah, yeah, he's one of the best 16-year-olds I've ever seen play hockey. So he's something else, right?
yeah,
So.
he was a treat because that was my first year with the team, and to watch him come in, I've never seen a player come over and just take over like that.
Yeah, and especially at that age too, right? And even during practices or obviously he'd be on the power play at 16, 17, and he scores a goal, one timer most of the time, and even our coaches are shock and awe that the 16-year-old is one of the best power play shots in the league. So it's you feed off that, you hear them talking about it, you're kind of like, okay, this kid is something. So that's when it really sinks in.
That's one other thing I wanted to ask you about the coach
Yeah.
you mentioned. What is it like working with former NHL players?
Yeah, it's awesome. Uh, they know the game so well, right? So it's different because they, what I'm doing with the players, essentially they had done to them, right? So they know every little thing, when the guys are going off about some, if it's positioning and they're the odd time, there's the headbutt between the players and the coaches because I mean every ex athlete still has that athlete mentality in the back of their heads. So but I mean, then we have a slow day and it's practice, and you hang them talk and work with the guys, and it's just like holy crap! Like these guys, you understand why they were in the NHL and why they played so long. Um, and then obviously you just have the other side of working with guys who had really good NHL careers. So it's always a bonus, good
Now, do you
connection.
got an example of how they kind of show that? Like, say even like one, because I know he really worked on the power play.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give like an example behind that?
Yeah, like even Leggy, I'd probably say has the smartest hockey IQ of anybody I've ever met. So, if somebody's on the power play, he'll call somebody over quickly on the bench if there's a whistle close by, and just simply tell the player he has to be 3, 4 feet, over left or right, and right off the draw, let's say we score, and that's exactly what they changed up. You just stop and realize like how smart this guy's hockey IQ actually is. And there's always the kids who are book smart, street smart and everything, and then have no clue what they're doing on the ice. But the guys, you can tell right away where they know where they're supposed to be, and I think Leggy did a really good job with that.
And do you think that helps the players knowing that these guys have made it to the NHL and like they've done everything there is to do in the game of hockey, really?
Definitely, and even like bringing in new draft picks. I think that's a big bonus to having two ex NHL players as owners, than 3, 4 ex NHL guys on the bench. Um, but it allows them to be more approachable, if you know what I mean. So in situations, obviously in their playing career, they would have had to do it once in their life, right? Where if it's talking to the trainer, the coaches, so they're very open with each other between the players and the coaches. It's a relationship I haven't seen before, but it's really good, and it's almost like a bonding experience every time you see a player with the coach because something's going on that's they're just talking about, and even if it's just what did I do wrong last game or what should I do better, and it's all fundamental with them.
Yeah. So yeah, kind of jumping into more what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
What's a normal day like for you at the rink?
Uh, it changes every day. It depends what happens, but practice days are usually there, around 8 or 9 in the morning. Get a few projects done, if it's repairs, checking socks for holes, all that kind of, small, slower stuff. You get in the room ready. Guys usually come in around 12:30. So, that quiet time between 9 and 12 is always nice. You can really hammer it down. But yeah, we get the room ready, and then the guys will come in, they'll practice. And once again, that's kind of my slow time, right, when they're on the ice. So usually getting a load of laundry done, trying to get ahead of schedule so when they do come off the ice. But once that's done, it becomes a waiting game. You're sharpening skates, waiting for guys just to kind of clear up and leave the room. And, it's not like beer league where, you just take your stuff off and leave 10 minutes later. You got guys in there for up to 2 hours after they're off the ice. So we're usually trying to find something to do, start cleaning and start the laundry and everything like that. And, we're usually lucky if we're out by 6:37.
Yeah.
So the game days are all obviously a bit crazier if we have morning skate, but it's long hours, but we're kind of used to it coming in. So
Yeah, it's kind of expected when you take the job that you're going to be there for a while. Now, how much are you communicating with the players about I'm changing this up. Like I know you kind of commented it a little, like they just kind of noticed, but
Yeah.
suddenly like a player comes up and they're like, I don't like this change. Like I need this back.
Um, you know, I'd probably say the pickiest guy I had was Fazio the first year. But other than that, no, I really haven't had it, and it's more on the sense of getting them dialed in at the start, so that won't happen, right?
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is when the guys get new skates, because there's always new models coming out, and the pitch changes, so you're either they'll go out with new skates thinking this is awesome, I'm in my new skates, but then the blades feel different. So that's when you're communicating with them more often than none. Or if something rips and they want it repaired. So, but it's kind of funny because you're talking to one guy one day about one thing, and then somebody who you really haven't talked gear with for 2-3 weeks comes up and needs something the next day, and it's just there's always something. Um, so that's when the guys will come to me and just tell them to leave it in the room, and we'll have it fixed tomorrow morning.
Now, how was Fazio picky? Was it the pads or?
No, it was his blades. He was he skates on a very flat profile. So like I don't get how that guy's hips never get real tight and he's just jammed up. But yeah, he was really flat. So the odd time it's just completely opposite because you usually want somewhat to be on your toes. So it was weird when I came in. Lester, the old equipment manager, who's now with Saginaw, told me that hey, this guy wants flat blades and it's a bit different. So he knew everything he wanted, right? And he was so dialed in. So the smallest little difference would be noticeable. Just from rink A to rink B on the cold side, on our practice side, right? We'd have to even change cuts then. So he was he was good. I was glad it happened my first year. Worked with a picky player like that because then it gets you on your feet. You know what to expect going forward.
Yeah, for sure. Another goalie I wanted to ask about,
Yeah,
Benny Gaudreau.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
what went into the kind of getting his pads? Did he talk to you about that, or was that how was that work?
For this year or next year?
Well, we'll start with this year's because
Yeah.
I
Um,
thought they were probably the nicest pads in the league this year. We'll wait till we even see next year's.
Yeah, that you know what, a lot goes into the goalie stuff, and people probably don't realize that. So we obviously drafted Benny last year first round, right? So you knew he would be on the team. Most first rounders sign, and we were looking for a goalie. So um, he reached out to Bauer, and before I even could message the guy, Bauer had him set up in full custom demo stuff and trying their new stuff out. So I called the Bauer rep, and I think we made the design. I want to say June. It would have been in June. So I think we finalized it by August, just changing colors, logos here and there, and obviously making sure Ben likes it and is what he wanted. So it's I give it to Ben too, obviously, for a goalie coming in. Most of them don't really know what to do, right? When you say, "All right, time to customize your pads," they just kind of sit there like, "What?" And so we had a really good, obviously, look to it. And then Bauer actually added that honeycomb. So yeah, we were playing around, with the PMS codes of the color wheel just to match everything, and then yeah, he wanted two sets the same. I told him he had the option to do another graphic, in the new year with his second set, and he didn't want to, and it ended up being one of the hottest sets, I guess, on the internet. So
Yeah,
um,
it took over.
yeah, so like
And that, we'll kind of jump into, I guess, next year's because they kind
yeah.
of were. Do you have a big part of helping out with that design, the poll they did on social media, or was that just
Um,
him and the social media guys kind of just
yeah,
talk?
that was more marketing. I didn't really do anything. I remember Ben at the end of last year said he, kind of wanted to do a fan vote, see what he was going to actually let people, send in ideas. But Bauer actually sent him, I think it was 4 designs, and then the Sting broke it down to 3. And but no, when I first saw that first one, I was just like, "What is this?" Like, you know. And you had to give me a full explanation. I was a transformer, and I was Bumblebee, and I was like, "Okay, that makes sense." And um, I kind of like the Blue Water one, but it was more for the community. But after the Bumblebee one, the Transformer one, he texted me and he says, "Just wait until you see my helmet paint." So I think he's got something going. It will be interesting, but he's such a good guy and easy to work with, right? So that's when it becomes fun to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we'll leave that for the fans coming
Yeah.
towards the season. A little teaser. Um, as for you coming towards the season, are you aware of anything different you have to do because of COVID, or have they even talked
No,
about that
not
yet?
not yet. Right now, I mean, right now all we really heard from the league is startup date, and they're trying to find a time more than anything. And then obviously they'll put the safety precautions in place. But um, Hockey Canada sent out a bunch of stuff when it first started on just sanitizing, cleaning up, and when you're reading it, it's really nothing that we don't do on a day to day, right? The room's usually always clean, and we're always wiping stuff down. So it's yeah, I don't know. We're just kind of waiting to see what else comes out before the season starts.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure if they made it clear yet on their plans or not, but that makes sense.
Yeah, it's it's
Wait for closer to see how everything goes, right?
completely day by day.
Exactly.
So
Um, we'll kind of continue on with the Sting though. What was? Do you notice a big difference just in like the crowd as a fan? Because as you know, in the NHL now, they're playing with no fans. Do you think the OHL like it would affect them as well?
yeah, I want to say it would more than the NHL. Because it's part of the whole experience of playing in the OHL. And that's kind of really the biggest drawback is how it will work with no fans. Obviously, juniors different. You don't have national TV sponsorships, so. But for the players wise, yeah, I think it might be a bit different. It might go back to that AAA tournament feels, right? So um, I don't know. It's a good question, but just knowing their age, I have a feeling it might a little bit.
Yeah, because you see, even just in warm-ups, players really pumping it up for the crowd.
Throwing the pucks over and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah. So and then that's part of the whole experience for them coming in. So I think it'll be really different for them if they don't have that.
yeah, for sure. Um, that's just something you kind of expect, I guess. I've heard a lot of players saying that it's actually more fun for them now because they're getting to pump each other up. It's players talking to players, whereas they're not even worrying about the crowd anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't even think about that. It'd be more of a bonding, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, a bunch of guys on the bench having fun.
exactly. Um, so one last question here before we're done. Thanks for doing this. But what is the biggest piece of advice you'd give to somebody looking to become an equipment manager?
um, Never burn a bridge. It's I'd say that's the biggest thing. The hockey world's so small. It's so small. Um, yeah, and you never want to either do something wrong or get off on the wrong foot. So you want to be really professional with it. And just follow the passions. So it's all about connections in 2020. With today's society. So with the hockey world being so small, just make as many connections as you can.
All right. That's all we got for now. Thanks for coming on,
Oh,
Spencer.
thanks for having me.
And we'll look to have you on in the future once the season starts up.
Yeah, let's hope so, right?
Yeah. All right. See ya.